So it's been a bit of a while. I'm going to work on the BMW and probably the Triumph. So you're going to get dual in this video. Ooh, don't know why I always do that. Ooh. Anyway, it has been more than a minute, so apologies that I've been away, but I'm back. Thank you everyone for tuning into the video. We are going to be working on the BMW today and getting that to a point finally where it's ready to start up. At that point, it's just going to be a quick bit of front end work, and then it'll be topping up with oil, and then we'll be good to go for this year's DGR, which is a month, 2 months away. And then other than that, it's going to be, as I'm doing that, talking you through some stuff with the Triumph, because you saw me buy the new exhaust way back when, and I haven't done anything with it, mainly because it's been riding season, although there's only been a few good days, and actually time-wise for me, being out on the bike. So the bike just needs to be ready and raring to go, which it is, and it's running like a dream. But you know me, I'm always tinkering, and I want to see what this new exhaust is like. And I've also bought this little tool, which will help me measure, I want to say valve clearance for my shims, but that's not going to be in this video. That will be in a later one, because I'm going to need to speak to friends about that. Although I have watched their video several times over and made notes. So in my head and on paper, it makes sense. Putting it into practice is scary a little bit. But anyway, needless said, this video, BMW, let's finally get this bike going in some shape, way or form. Let's get into the BMW. So you just picked up on my last few videos, the electrics, they were all done. I've actually ripped all the electrics out. I mean, I say rip them out, I have tried to redo them again. So let me talk you through actually what's happened. All these wires initially were too neatly done, and everything was wired up to here like perfectly without any wiggle room whatsoever. So when it came in then to rig up the rear, it became a real issue in getting everything into the Motogadget M-Unit that I've bought. So with that being said, what parts have actually been waiting to arrive? So the first part, I'm not going to camera, what parts have I been waiting for? So the first part was these. I say waiting. So the first thing was heat shrink tubing, because I had to rip out all the other wiring. I didn't have enough. I didn't have enough for the heat shrink left, so I ended up going out to Halfords and then buying that. But I mean, that's been sat on my make do workbench for about a month, so I needed some more of that heat shrink to make sure everything was done. The other thing was wires. So I bought the Motogadget electrical cables, and obviously they were absolutely brilliant, and I've actually still got 1 or 2 of those left. However, they again were too short because I clipped them, and when I've been doing test runs and all that kind of good stuff, the wires are just shorter and shorter and shorter. So what I ended up doing was not go back for the Motogadget stuff, but what I did was I went for whatever this brand is. There we go. Went for this brand from Amazon, and it's got everything that I need in there in terms of wiring, and I tried to keep to the same color scheme. So again, I've got 10 foot of wire per each color on there, so I know exactly where everything is. And I've managed to, on the whiteboard, if I've ever shown you that, is put all the colors on there. So what that means is, even with my labels, which some of them now have pulled off, I can still have a vague reference of where everything was in terms of blue, brown, green, all that kind of stuff, which bear no meaning to anyone other than me and some of the Motogadget stuff that I've been using. So some of the other things as well that I was waiting for, which I didn't realize, was these things. So they are 2-in-1, either female to male or male to female, whichever way it goes. Bullet connectors, and this is going to help with the splicing. Before, when I did everything, I just plugged everything together, used the soldering caps and things that I had before, which looked like this. I used these before, and then that was it. They just soldered together, and they were pretty tight. Been told that they've been watertight, and everything there was all good. However, when I've gone back and watched some more reference videos for people that are far better at doing this than me, they used was a whole lot of Deutsch connectors, which I've got in here. Thought some B-roll for that. And the main reason for that was you get a really good waterproof connection once they're all done. Again, this was just a tester one. A really good waterproof connection once you're done. What it also then means is if I need to do anything, I can just unplug these, whereas before I just had one continuous wire, which was a pain in the backside then when it came to me needing to do anything else. So the plan is use the bullet connectors, do any kind of pre-work that I need to do, and actually anything then which goes into something like the rear into the Motogadget, I can plug these in. Especially I want it waterproof. I don't want this bike setting alight. So that's everything in terms of what I've been waiting for. So enough being said, now I'm gonna crack on with the bike. Okay, so it's the day after. Everything's been wired up. Bike isn't ready to start yet because I haven't. Well, the bike isn't ready to start yet. But what it does mean is the light should work. So, left indicator, right indicator, high beam, hazards, and if I have done this correctly, so if you ignore the back end for the minute because it's still a bit of a mess, but eventually there will be a brake light on there, and there were the hazards. Plus, one thing that I did see is if I open up the Mo app, I think it's called the Mo button app, I think, you can change all sorts of different things that are in there. So the speed of the flashes, the if it's got an alarm set, the sensitivity to it, what I want the aux to do. So like I said, the only thing is just to wire up the brakes, just some cheap ones from Amazon, which I absolutely hate. And the reason for that is because the ones that I did buy from Alchemy Parts, but there's a dead wire in there. That's really annoying because what that means is I can have these as my indicators rather than that. As far as the electrics go, they are done. So with that being said, I'm really happy with how that's turned out. The bike is looking super good. Oh, my light's still on. Also, I've checked the charging and all that kind of good stuff, and everything is good at the minute. So I need to turn the bike off or I drain my battery completely. But that is what the charger's for that I bought the other day, which you saw a glimpse of earlier on in the video. And the next bit is just to sort out, well, now the electric's done, quick thing about that rear brake, and then it's onto the front end. I have managed, actually, on that note, the light's pretty bright. What I have managed to do is sort out my the old system into the new handle, which is what I wanted. I now have two brake lines going all the way down, and the plan will be to mount them in there. So this will come off because it's no longer needed, and what that then means is my other brake line will go into there, and then there's my bleeding nipple. So I'm going to do all that. That was just a bit of a mock-up. Take the wheel off once I sort the electrics out, but now the electrics are done, the bike is almost ready. Also, don't need the clutch to start the bike. I am not going to bother wiring that up, and because all the handlebars and stuff are already done, I don't need to do any of that. So let's turn this key. Oh yeah, that little flick there was to set the alarm. So I need to remember to go into my Mo app and turn that alarm off, because I don't. Well, any kind of sensitivity will send it off. So I need to remember to turn that off, and then we're good. We are so good, and the bike is coming along nicely. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. The next one will be the wheels for the front end, putting oil in it and actually getting the bike started up. So we are ahead of schedule, and I'm finally pleased I've had a bit of time just to work with this bike. So just before I finish, I'm going to show you, because the bike is still connected, but the switch is off on the bike. So I'm going to show you what happens when the mobile works as well. So hopefully I can record this at the same time. There we go. Ping. So actually I can ping the bike and it'll do some fancy stuff while I'm using the app, which is pretty cool.